The diplomatic station hung in space like a silver wheel, slowly turning against the backdrop of distant stars. Inside its largest conference hall, Ambassador Jiwoo sat perfectly still. Her hands rested on the smooth table surface. Her face showed nothing. But inside, she was calculating every possible outcome of what was about to happen. Across from her sat the Krillian delegation. Their crystalline bodies reflected the harsh white lights of the chamber. High Chancellor Vexarath dominated the center position, his massive form towering over the smaller species representatives beside him. His compound eyes focused on Jiwoo with what she had learned to recognize as contempt. Captain Daewon stood behind his ambassador, one hand resting on his belt near his sidearm. Not threatening, just ready. He had fought in the border skirmishes 15 years ago. He knew what Krillians were capable of. The scars on his left arm reminded him every day. 6 months. Vexrath's voice came through the translators like grinding stone. 6 months of your delays and your clever words. The Krillian Dominion has been patient. Too patient. Jiwoo smiled slightly. We have been negotiating in good faith, Chancellor. The territorial disputes in the Outer Rim are complex. Both our peoples have legitimate claims. Legitimate? Vexrath's mandibles clicked together sharply. Your species has been among the stars for less than a century. The Dominion has ruled these sectors for 10,000 years. You have no legitimate claims. You have only our tolerance. Behind Jiwoo, her aide Hyunsu shifted slightly. He held a data tablet and his finger moved across its surface without looking. He was recording everything. Every word. Every gesture. This would be important later. Jiwoo activated her own display. Holographic images appeared above the table, showing star maps and incident reports. Then perhaps the Chancellor can explain these events. 3 months ago, a Dominion patrol fired on human mining vessels in the Talos sector. 2 weeks later, your forces established blockades around colony worlds we settled 20 years ago. Last month, civilian transports were seized without cause. Without cause? Vexrath leaned forward. You expand like a disease. Every year, more human ships, more human colonies, more human demands. The Dominion must act to protect the established order. The established order, Jiwoo repeated quietly. Is that what you call it when 7 species band together to threaten one? Warmaster Tokvar, who had been silent until now, made a sharp clicking sound. You should be grateful we offer you any terms at all, human. Your people are soft. You have no warrior tradition. Your fleets are merchant vessels pretending to be warships. You exist because we have allowed it. Daewon's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Jiwoo glanced at him briefly, then returned her attention to the Krillians. Then let us discuss terms. You claim we expand too aggressively. We propose shared governance of disputed systems. Independent observers from neutral council species would oversee development and ensure fairness to all parties. Unacceptable. Vexrath's voice was flat. The Dominion will accept nothing less than your complete withdrawal from 40% of your current colonies. Furthermore, all human military vessels will be reduced by 70%. Your remaining forces will submit to Dominion oversight and inspection. The room went silent. Jiwoo heard Hyunsu's sharp intake of breath behind her. Daewon's hand moved closer to his weapon, though he still did not draw it. That is not negotiation, Jiwoo said carefully. That is surrender. Call it what you wish. Vexarath stood, his full height impressive and intimidating. The Dominion has assembled a fleet of 148 battle groups. They are already moving into position. You have 30 standard days to accept our terms. If you refuse, we will take what we demand by force. Your colonies will be occupied. Your fleets will be destroyed. Your homeworld will be blockaded until you submit. You would start a war over this? Jiwoo's voice remained calm, but something had changed in her eyes. Something cold. There will be no war, Tokvar said dismissively. Wars require 2 armies. You have cargo haulers and mining ships. We have conquered 17 species. This will be a pacification, brief and final. Vexarath activated a broadcast device. I am transmitting this ultimatum to all Galactic Council channels. Let every species hear and understand. The Krillian Dominion has been patient with human aggression. Now our patience ends. 30 days, Ambassador. Choose wisely. The Krillian delegation filed out of the chamber. Their heavy footsteps echoed on the metal floors. The door sealed behind them with a solid thunk. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Hyunsu spoke quietly. Ambassador, they just declared war. In front of the entire galaxy. Yes, Jiwoo said. Yes, they did. What do we do? Daewon asked. We need to contact Earth immediately. Start recalling our ships. Begin defensive preparations. Jiwoo stood slowly. She walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krillian fleets were moving. 148 battle groups, thousands of ships, tens of thousands of soldiers from 7 different warrior species, all convinced of their superiority. Ambassador, Hyunsu prompted. She turned to face them. Hyunsu, encode a message to Earth, maximum security. Use the quantum channel. The message is simple, broken arrow protocol. Daewon's face went pale. Ambassador, that protocol hasn't been used since the Unification Wars. That's a total war authorization. I know what it is, Captain. But once that code is sent, there's no taking it back. The entire human sphere will mobilize. Every ship, every weapon, every reserve, everything we've kept hidden for 80 years. I know. Jiwoo's voice was steady. Send it. Hyunsu's hands trembled slightly as he typed the code. Ambassador, the Council will try to intervene. Other species will attempt mediation. Let them try. Jiwoo walked back to the table and began gathering her materials. Captain Daewon, recall all human diplomatic personnel from foreign stations. All civilian vessels in non-human territory should return home immediately. All communication networks are to implement full blackout protocols to external access. You're pulling everyone back? Daewon was already moving toward the door, speaking into his communicator. Everyone, every human, every ship. Let the galaxy wonder what we're doing. Outside the conference hall, other species were already gathering. News of the ultimatum had spread instantly. Delegates whispered and stared as Jiwoo and her team passed. Some looked sympathetic. Most looked curious. A few looked relieved that humanity was finally going to be put in its place. Counselor Rin, a serpentine Valerian, intercepted them in the corridor. Ambassador Jiwoo, I just heard. This is terrible. The Council will convene immediately. We will demand the Dominion withdraw their ultimatum. Thank you, Counselor, Jiwoo said politely, but I don't think that will be necessary. But surely you cannot face them alone. The Dominion fleet is the largest military force ever assembled. You must accept mediation. Jiwoo stopped and looked at the Valerian. For just a moment, her diplomatic mask slipped. Rin saw something in those human eyes that made her ancient blood run cold. Counselor, has your people ever studied human history? I mean, really studied it? Some. Your art and culture are quite beautiful. Not that history. The other kind. The kind we don't talk about at parties. I don't understand. Jiwoo smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. You will. Everyone will. In 30 days, the whole galaxy will understand exactly what humans are. She walked away, her team following. Rin watched them go, a strange feeling of dread settling over her. She made a decision in that moment. Tonight she would go to the archives. She would read everything about human history. Everything they had buried when they joined the Council. She had a feeling it was important. Back in his ready room aboard the human escort vessel Eternal Resolve, Captain Daewon watched his view screen as the message went out. Broken Arrow Protocol. All across human space, the message was being received. Military commanders were opening sealed orders. Factory managers were accessing restricted production schedules. Colonial governors were beginning quiet preparations. The galaxy thought they knew humanity. They had seen human merchants and artists and diplomats for 80 years. They thought humans were soft, peaceful, harmless. Daewon touched the scars on his arm. He had fought in the last real war humanity had waged. He knew what his people were capable of when pushed. The Krillians were about to learn a hard lesson. The war had not started yet, but it was already over. The Dominion just did not know it yet. The Galactic Council chambers were in chaos. Representatives from 47 species shouted questions and demands. The Krillian ultimatum had shaken everyone. War on this scale had not been seen in 3,000 years. Counselor Rin waited for a moment of quiet, then activated her platform's speaker. Distinguished representatives, we must take action immediately. The Dominion's demands are unreasonable. We should impose sanctions, send peacekeepers. Surely we can prevent this war. A Thalorian delegate, his blue skin flushed darker with agitation, gestured sharply. And what do the humans say? Where is Ambassador Jiwoo? Why has she not addressed this council? The human embassy is empty, another voice called out. They recalled their ambassador 2 days ago. All human diplomatic personnel have been withdrawn, Rin confirmed, checking her data tablet. From every council world, every station, they left quietly without explanation. Perhaps they are preparing their surrender, suggested a Krillian junior diplomat who had remained behind to observe. The wise choice. But something bothered Rin. She had been trying to contact human representatives for 3 days. Every channel came back with the same message: communication unavailable. Please try again later. It was not aggressive, not panicked, just closed. What about their merchant vessels? Someone asked. Human trade ships are everywhere. Surely some captain will talk to us. That's the strange part, a trade coordinator spoke up. They're all gone too. Every human cargo ship, passenger liner, even the small private vessels. They've all returned to human space. The shipping lanes are empty of human traffic for the first time in 80 years. The chamber fell silent as that information sank in. The economic implications alone were staggering. Human trade represented 15% of galactic commerce. Their sudden withdrawal was already causing supply chain disruptions. Have they said anything? Rin asked. Any official statement? Nothing. Earth's communication networks are completely dark to outside access. We can't even get automated responses anymore. It's like they've pulled a curtain around their entire civilization. In the back of the chamber, War Master Tukvar watched with satisfaction. Fear. They hide because they know they cannot win. The Dominion fleet will be in position in 12 days. This matter will be resolved quickly. But Counselor Rin was not so sure. That night, unable to sleep, she went to the council archives. She accessed the human cultural database, but this time she ignored the sections on art and music and literature. Instead, she searched for military history. What she found kept her awake until dawn. Humanity's home planet, Earth, had a history unlike any other known world. Violence on a scale that seemed impossible. Wars involving hundreds of millions of soldiers. Weapons that could destroy entire cities in single strikes. Conflicts that lasted years, decades, generations. She read about something called World War II. 50 million dead. 50 million. On a single planet. In 6 years. She read about nuclear weapons. Devices that released energy equal to stars, capable of making entire regions uninhabitable for centuries. Humanity had built tens of thousands of them, pointed them at each other, and somehow decided not to use them. She read about their military doctrines, words that chilled her. Total war, mutually assured destruction, acceptable losses, scorched earth. Other species fought for honor, for territory, for resources. Humans fought for survival, and they had learned to fight in ways that made survival the only thing that mattered. They did not just defeat enemies. They destroyed them so completely that the enemy could never threaten them again. And then, 80 years ago, humanity had joined the Galactic Council. They had presented themselves as peaceful. They had dismantled their weapon systems. They had converted their warships to merchant vessels. They had become traders and explorers and artists. But Rin found a note in the archives from the human delegation that had first made contact. It was marked as a formal statement. Humanity seeks peace and friendship with all species. We have left our violent past behind, but we remember it. We remember it very well. At the time, the Council had thought it was a reassurance. Now Rin wondered if it had been a warning. She tried one more time to contact Earth. The same automated message. Communication unavailable. Across human space, something was happening. Something the galaxy could not see. Captain Dewan stood on the observation deck of a massive orbital facility near Mars. Before him, the shipyards stretched for hundreds of kilometers. He had been here once before 20 years ago, when it was a civilian construction yard building colony ships and cargo haulers. It did not look civilian anymore. Thousands of vessels filled the assembly zones. Some he recognized, converted merchant ships, now bristling with weapon emplacements. Mining ships with their industrial lasers upgraded to military specifications. Even passenger liners being fitted with armor and missile batteries. but the vessels emerging from the deeper construction bays made his breath catch. These were not conversions. These were warships, real warships, sleek, predatory designs that looked nothing like the blocky cargo haulers the galaxy knew. They had been built in secret, deep in the asteroid belt, constructed slowly over decades using materials diverted from civilian projects. Impressive, isn't it? Admiral Taeyang appeared beside him. The old commander's white hair was cut military short. His uniform was crisp and perfect. He had not worn that uniform in public for 60 years. "Sir, how long have we been building?" "These?" "Since the day we joined the council," Taeyang said quietly. "Every human leader since then has known. We hoped we would never need them. We built them anyway." "How many?" "Enough." The admiral gestured to the shipyards. "Every colony world has facilities like this, hidden, waiting. The Krillians think we have maybe 200 warships. They're wrong." Day One watched as another massive vessel emerged from its construction bay. It was at least 3 kilometers long, covered in weapon systems he did not recognize. "What is that?" "That is the Indomitable. First of the Titan-class dreadnoughts. She has enough firepower to sterilize a planet. We built 12 of them." 12? Like I said. Enough. Taeyang turned to face the captain. "The recall orders have gone out. Every human ship, every trained soldier, every reserve unit. We have 17 days until the Dominion deadline. By then, we will be ready." The galaxy doesn't know, does it? They think we're hiding because we're scared. Let them think that. Fear is a weapon too. The longer they think we're weak, the more surprised they'll be. Across human space, the transformation was happening everywhere. On Venus, atmospheric mining platforms converted to weapons production. On Titan, chemical plants began producing military-grade explosives. On Europa, the ice refineries retooled to manufacture ship armor. Every human colony had been designed with this possibility in mind. Dual-use infrastructure, they called it. Everything that looked civilian could be military. Everything that seemed peaceful could be weaponized. It was how humans had always built things, even after they left Earth. Just in case. The Dominion fleet continued its advance. 148 battle groups moving in formation, confident and unstoppable. They broadcast their progress proudly. Other species watched nervously. Some tried to contact human leadership, begging for responses. Nothing came back. On day 12, Counselor Rin made one final attempt. She sent a personal message to Ambassador Jiwoo, marked urgent and private. "Please, talk to us. Let us help. War is not the answer." 3 hours later, she received a reply. Just one sentence. "We tried talking. It didn't work." On day 15, a Valerian merchant ship passed through human territory on a diplomatic courier run. The captain later reported what he saw. Every human world was lit up like a sun. Factories running 24 hours. Shipyards launching new vessels every hour. Space full of military traffic moving with practiced precision. Most disturbing. The humans he saw did not look panicked or afraid. They looked focused, determined. Like they had done this before and knew exactly what to do. On day 25, the Krillian Dominion became concerned. Their intelligence reports all said the same thing. Humans were mobilizing, but no one knew their actual strength. Spy drones sent into human space did not return. Electronic surveillance was blocked. Everything was hidden behind that curtain of silence. War Master Takvar dismissed the concerns. "Let them mobilize, it does not matter. They have no warrior tradition, no battle experience. They will panic when the first shots are fired." But High Chancellor Vexrath was not so certain anymore. Something about the silence bothered him. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of preparation. On day 29, the Dominion fleet reached the outer border of human space. They paused there, waiting for the deadline. The galaxy held its breath. Every species watched on their long-range sensors. On day 30, at exactly midnight Galactic Standard Time, the deadline passed. The Dominion prepared to begin their invasion. They expected human surrender. They expected begging and pleading, They expected terror. Instead, they got a transmission. It came on all channels, broadcast across the entire galaxy. Admiral Tai Yang's face filled every screen. His expression was cold. His voice was steady. "You have been warned. Once." Then the transmission cut. The silence returned. But it was a different silence now. It was the silence before thunder. Colony World Harmony lived up to its name. Rolling fields of golden grain stretched to the horizon. Small towns dotted the landscape. Children played in parks. It was a peaceful farming world, home to 3 million humans. No military bases, no weapon factories, just farms and families. It was also the first world in the path of the Dominion invasion. The Krillian fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 12 battle groups, over 300 ships. War Master Tokvar commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Glory. He looked at the peaceful planet below and felt satisfaction. "This will be easy," he said to his officers. "Scan for military installations." "Sir, we detect no military presence." "Minimal orbital traffic." "A few satellites. Some communications stations. No weapons platforms." "Excellent. Transmit surrender demands. Tell them they have 1 hour to submit to Dominion authority, or we begin bombardment." The transmission went out. The response came back within minutes. A middle-aged human woman appeared on screen. She wore simple clothing and stood in what looked like a farming community center. "I am Governor Minseo of Harmony Colony. I have your demands." "My answer is no," Tokvar laughed. "Governor, you have no ships, no weapons, no defenses. You cannot stop us." "No," Minseo agreed. "We can't, but they can." The connection cut. Tokvar frowned. What did she mean by the first explosion cut off his words? It came from the rear of his formation. A battlecruiser simply disappeared in a flash of light. Then another. Then 3 more in rapid succession. "Report," Tokvar roared. "Unknown weapons fire." "Source unknown." "Vessels reporting impacts from—" The tactical officer's voice rose in pitch. "Sir, the satellites, the communication stations, they're all armed." What the Dominion had scanned as civilian infrastructure was now revealing its true nature. Every satellite platform opened like a flower, exposing missile batteries and railgun systems. Communication stations transformed into weapons platforms. Even the small orbital factory modules deployed hidden weapon arrays. But those were just the appetizers. The main course arrived when the asteroid field on the system's edge lit up like a constellation. Thousands of hidden defense platforms built into the rocks themselves, all activating at once. "Evasive action," Tokvar commanded. But it was too late for many ships. The human weapons fired with precision that seemed impossible. Every shot found a target. Shields flickered and died. Hulls broke open. Ships that had survived 100 battles died in seconds. And then the human fleet arrived. They came from hyperspace in a formation the Dominion had never seen before. Not neat lines. Not organized blocks. They came like a pack of predators, each ship moving independently but coordinated with the others. Their vessels were smaller than Dominion battleships, but faster. Much faster. Commander Youngmi led the first strike wing. Her fighter squadron dove through the Dominion formation like knives through flesh. Her weapons officer called out targets and she fired without hesitation. A Krillian destroyer exploded. She banked hard, avoided return fire, locked onto another target. 2 more shots, 2 more kills. All wings break by sections. Attack pattern Delta. Make them chase you. Her pilots obeyed instantly. The human fighters scattered, and the Dominion ships tried to follow. But human ships could turn tighter, accelerate faster, and their pilots had trained for this in simulations that made real combat feel easy. In 6 minutes, Youngmai's squadron destroyed 15 Dominion vessels. They lost none. Aboard the Eternal Glory, Tokvar watched his fleet dissolve. This was not battle. This was slaughter. His ships were bigger, more heavily armed, more armored. It did not matter. The humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. No honor, no formations, just pure efficiency. All ships formed defensive sphere. Concentrate fire on. A massive human ship emerged from behind Harmony's moon. It was enormous, covered in weapons, and it opened fire with everything at once. The broadside hit the Eternal Glory's shields and broke through them like they were paper. Explosions ripped across the hull. "Abandon ship!" Tokvar screamed. But there was no time. The second volley turned his flagship into debris. The battle for Harmony lasted 14 minutes. Of 12 Dominion battle groups, only 7 ships escaped. 300 vessels destroyed, 20,000 Krillian soldiers dead. The human defenders lost 12 fighters and 1 corvette. The survivors ran. They jumped to hyperspace without coordination, without orders, just desperate to escape. Behind them, Harmony remained untouched. Governor Minseo walked back to her farm and continued her work. The orbital defense systems returned to standby mode, looking once again like harmless satellites. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. Counselor Rin watched the battle recordings with a sick feeling in her stomach. She had tried to warn them. She had tried to tell the council what human history revealed. No one had listened. She called an emergency council session. Distinguished representatives, you have all seen what happened at Harmony. This is not the humanity we thought we knew. They cheated, a Krillian delegate shouted. Hidden weapons, civilian structures used for military purposes. This violates the Treaty of... The Treaty of Xantar applies to settled conflicts, Rin interrupted. You declared war. All treaties are void, but that is not the point. The point is we were wrong about them. All of us. She activated a holographic display showing human historical records, images of ancient Earth wars, statistics of death tolls that made the audience gasp, weapon designs that seemed impossible. This is what they were. This is what they come from. A world that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing. They did not become peaceful because they learned wisdom. They became peaceful because they became so good at war that they almost destroyed themselves. And they remembered. Everything we saw at Harmony, that is what they remembered. But they joined the council, someone protested. They agreed to peace. They wanted peace, Rin said quietly. They genuinely wanted it. But the Dominion did not give them that choice. So now we see what happens when you force humans to go back to what they were. The Dominion, rather than retreating, sent out a call to arms. Pride would not let them admit defeat. More battle groups mobilized. 300 ships total now. The largest military force in galactic history. Surely numbers would prevail. They were wrong. The war spread across 40 star systems in 3 weeks. Every battle followed the same pattern. The Dominion would arrive with overwhelming force. The humans would destroy them utterly. No battle lasted more than an hour. No human position fell. A Dominion admiral tried using superior numbers, attacking with 5 battle groups at once. The human defenders let them approach, then triggered mines scattered throughout the space around their colony world. The admiral's fleet flew into a cloud of nuclear explosions and antimatter detonations. 40 ships survived out of 200. Another commander tried stealth tactics, approaching a human mining outpost with dampened engines. The humans detected them anyway. Their sensors were far better than the Dominion had thought possible. The attacking force never even got close enough to fire a shot before human long-range missiles erased them. In every engagement, human tactics proved superior. They did not fight with honor. They did not give warnings. They simply calculated the most efficient way to eliminate threats and executed those plans with cold precision. But the breaking point came when the Dominion made their greatest mistake. Desperate and angry, they decided to target civilian populations directly. If they could not defeat human military forces, they would break human morale. A Dominion task force bypassed military targets and moved directly toward a colony world called New Hope. It was primarily a residential world, families, schools, hospitals. The Dominion fleet commander sent a simple message: surrender or we begin orbital bombardment of your cities. Governor Jae Sung of New Hope responded from the capital. You threaten children. You threaten families. You want to kill civilians because you cannot beat our soldiers. Surrender, the Dominion commander repeated. No, but I want you to understand something. You have just made this war personal. You were fighting our military. Now you will fight all of us, and you will learn why we left Earth, why we tried so hard to be peaceful, because we know what we are capable of when we are not. The Dominion fleet moved into bombardment position. They launched their first salvo toward New Hope's capital city. The missiles never reached atmosphere. A human defense grid that had not been visible before lit up space with energy beams. Every missile was destroyed. Then something new happened. Something the galaxy had not seen yet. Human ships appeared. But these were different, smaller, faster. And they carried weapons that made the Dominion fleet commanders stare in horror. Dr. Bora watched from Earth as her weapons designs were finally deployed. She had spent 30 years developing them, praying they would never be used. Now, watching the tactical displays, she felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just the cold knowledge that she had done her job well. The new weapons were simple in concept, terrible in execution. Self-replicating drone swarms. Once released, they multiplied using materials from destroyed ships, creating more drones, which created more, which created more. They did not stop until every enemy vessel was gone. The Dominion task force at New Hope lasted 7 minutes. Not a single ship escaped. The war changed after New Hope. The Dominion threw everything into the fight now, but it was like trying to stop a flood with a bucket. Human forces advanced steadily, methodically, destroying every Krillian military asset they encountered. Krixval, a young Krillian who served as aide to a regional commander, watched fleet after fleet disappear. He sat in his quarters late at night, unable to sleep, and did something forbidden. He accessed human historical records, the ones that had been available all along but that no one had bothered to read. What he found made him sick. Not because it was violent, Krillians understood violence, but because he finally understood what they were fighting. Humans did not just fight wars. They industrialized them. They turned destruction into a science. They calculated acceptable losses not in dozens or hundreds, but in millions. He read about something called the Somme, a single battle where over 1 million soldiers died, and both sides considered it acceptable to continue. He read about strategic bombing campaigns where entire cities were burned to ash as part of routine operations. He read about soldiers who fought for years in trenches, watching friends die daily, and still kept fighting. Then he found the nuclear weapons records, the descriptions of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He stared at the images for hours. 2 bombs, 2 cities, 200,000 dead, and humanity had built tens of thousands more of these weapons, pointed them at each other, and somehow stopped themselves from using them. Krixval realized the truth with horror. Every human diplomat who had come to the council had been a survivor of a species that had nearly destroyed itself. They knew what total war meant. They had lived through versions of it, and they had tried desperately to warn everyone. He found Ambassador Jiwoo's very first speech to the council, given 80 years ago. She had said, "We come in peace because we know the alternative too well. We have seen what war costs. We have paid that price in our own blood. We do not want to pay it again or to make others pay it. Please remember this if the time ever comes. We really truly want peace." The council had applauded politely and moved on to trade negotiations. No one had understood. She had been begging them, and they had thought it was just diplomatic pleasantries. Krixval tried to share what he learned with his commanders. They dismissed him. Stop reading enemy propaganda. Focus on your duties, but he could not stop. He sent anonymous messages to other young Krillians. Some listened. Most did not. The war machine had momentum now, and it could not stop even if it wanted to. On the front lines, Scout Ji-hoon moved through the wreckage of a Dominion supply depot. His team had been tasked with reconnaissance, learning Dominion force dispositions. What they found was chaos, supply chains broken, communication networks disrupted. "Morale collapsing, sir," one of his team members called out. "You need to see this." They had found a command center hastily abandoned. The displays still showed tactical information. Ji-hoon studied them and felt a chill. They're pulling everything back. Every reserve, every garrison, everything. Back where? Their core worlds. They're abandoning the outer territories completely, concentrating everything around their homeworld. That's desperate. That's terrified, Ji-hoon corrected. He looked at the star charts. The Dominion was consolidating for a final stand. They were going to put everything they had left between humanity and their homeworld. It would be the biggest battle of the war. He sent the intel up the chain of command. Within hours, Admiral Taeyang had it. Within a day, the entire human military knew. The Dominion was making their last stand. Aboard the human flagship Unconquerable, Taeyang called a strategy meeting. Dozens of officers attended via hologram. He looked at them all, reading their faces. They were ready. They had trained for this, but he needed them to understand. The Dominion is gathering everything at their homeworld. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Intelligence estimates 375 capital ships, thousands of support vessels, defense platforms beyond counting. If we attack directly, we will win, but we will take casualties, real casualties. Perhaps hundreds of ships, maybe thousands of our people. The officers waited. They knew there was more. I want you all to consider what that means. We have been fortunate so far. Our technology is better. Our tactics are superior. Our people are well trained. We have won every battle with minimal losses. But this will be different. This will be the kind of fight that costs us. Some of you in this room will die. Some of your crews will die. Some of your friends. Commander Young Mi spoke up. Sir, we understood that when we signed up. We are ready. I know you are. That is not the point. The point is that we can offer them terms. We can stop at their borders. We can declare victory and go home. No one would blame us. We have proven our point. The galaxy knows not to threaten humanity now. The room was silent. Then Captain Day 1, now commanding a battle group, spoke quietly. They targeted New Hope, sir. They tried to kill children. If we stop now, what message does that send? That you can threaten human families as long as you are willing to make a final stand? Others nodded. Engineer Sang-woo, present to advise on weapon systems, added, We built these weapons hoping never to use them. We used them. Now we need to finish what we started, or all of this was for nothing. Tae Yang looked at each face. He saw determination. He saw understanding. He saw people who knew what they were choosing. Very well. We attack in 1 week. Use that time to prepare. Check your systems. Speak to your crews. Make sure everyone understands. This will be harder than anything we have faced so far. Back on Earth, civilian Su Jin stood before the Galactic Council, transmitted via long-range communication. The Council had finally reached out to human civilians, hoping they would pressure their government to show mercy. Su Jin was a farmer from Harmony, the first world attacked. She spoke calmly, but her words carried weight. You want us to stop. You want us to show mercy. You ask why we fight with such ferocity. Let me tell you what it means to be human in this galaxy. We left Earth because we were tired of war. We built farms and families. We created homes on worlds that were empty rock. We worked for generations to make gardens in space. She paused, looking directly at the camera. Then the Dominion came. They told us to give up 40% of those homes. Those gardens our grandparents planted. Those schools where our children learn. They gave us 30 days. 30 days to surrender everything we had built over 80 years. We tried to negotiate. We tried to find peace. They declared war instead. They came to Harmony, where my farm is, where my daughter plays. They came to kill us because we would not submit. You ask why we fight this way? Her voice grew harder. Because you taught us that peace is a privilege the strong grant to the weak. You showed us that all our art and culture and trade meant nothing when someone stronger wanted what we had. So now we will teach you a different lesson. We will show you what happens when you push humans back to what we were, and we will make sure you never forget it. The council chamber was silent when she finished. Some looked ashamed. Some looked angry. Most looked frightened. Counselor Rin spoke quietly. Ambassador Jiwoo tried to warn us. She told us to study your history. We did not listen. No, Sujin agreed. You did not. And now everyone will pay the price, including us, because even when we win, we lose. We become what we tried to leave behind. We remember how to be killers. That knowledge does not go away. The week passed quickly. Human forces gathered in a assembly point 2 systems away from the Dominion homeworld. The fleet was massive. Every available ship, every trained pilot, every soldier. Over 2,000 capital ships, 10,000 support vessels, fighter wings beyond counting. It was not just military vessels. Converted civilian ships joined them. Volunteer crews who demanded to be part of the final battle. Mining ships fitted with weapons. Colony transports carrying extra troops. Even a few ancient vessels from the early days of human space exploration, restored and armed. The Dominion watched them come. Their defense network activated. Every weapon platform. Every ship. Every soldier standing ready. 375 capital ships seemed like a lot until they saw what was coming for them. High Chancellor Vexrath stood in the Planetary Command Center, watching the displays. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear. Real fear. His intelligence officers had warned him. The human fleet was larger than anything they had imagined possible. Better equipped. Better trained. Led by commanders who had studied war for their entire lives. Can we win? He asked his military advisors. No one answered immediately. Finally, War Master Tokvar, injured but alive after his flagship was destroyed, spoke truth. No, we cannot win. We can only make them pay a price for their victory. Then why fight at all? Why not surrender? Because if we surrender now, we submit to their terms. If we fight and lose, we at least negotiate from a position of having resisted. It is the only leverage we have left. Vexrath looked at the displays again. The human fleet was moving into position. They were not rushing, not charging, just moving with careful precision. Like a machine, like death itself, patient and inevitable. Open a channel, he said suddenly. To the human fleet commander. Admiral Tai Yang's face appeared on screen. His expression was cold, empty. The human fleet hung in space like a storm waiting to break. 2,000 capital ships, support vessels beyond counting. Every weapon charged, every crew at battle stations. They surrounded the Dominion homeworld in a sphere formation that left no escape. High Chancellor Vexrath looked at the tactical display and saw his death. 375 trillion ships against humanity's full might. The numbers were impossible, but pride and desperation left him no choice. All ships, he commanded, prepare for battle. We will show them that Krillians do not submit easily. We will make them remember the price of conquest. But Admiral Tai Yang did not give the order to fire. The human fleet simply waited. The silence stretched. 1 minute, 5 minutes. 10. Aboard the Unconquerable, Captain Daewon stood beside his admiral. Sir, they are moving into defensive formation. We should strike before they are set. No, Tai Yang said quietly. Not yet, sir. Look at them, Captain. Really look. They are ready to die. Every one of them. They will fight to the last ship because they think they have no choice. Because we have given them no choice. They gave us no choice either, Commander Youngmi reminded him from her fighter command post. They started this war. Yes, they did. But if we destroy them utterly, what does that make us? We came out here to stop being what we were. If we kill 300,000 Krillians who are only fighting because they see no alternative, have we really won? Dr. Bora's voice came over the command channel. Admiral, my weapons are ready. The drone swarms. The kinetic missiles. The systems designed to crack planets. Say the word and the Dominion homeworld becomes a graveyard. I know, Tai Yang said. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. But I did not build a career on destroying enemies. I built it on protecting humans. And humans are not served by becoming monsters, even to monsters. He opened a direct channel to Vexrath. The Krillian's face appeared defiant despite his fear. Admiral, have you come to gloat before you destroy us? No, Tai Yang said. I have come to offer terms. The command center went silent. Vexrath stared. Terms? Complete disarmament of your military. All weapons of mass destruction destroyed under human supervision. War crimes tribunals for your leadership. Those who ordered attacks on civilian populations will face justice. Reparations to human colonies you damaged, but no occupation. No revenge against your civilians. No destruction of your worlds. Your people will live. Your culture will continue, but you will never threaten anyone again. Vexrath could not speak for a moment. He had expected annihilation, planetary bombardment, the end of his species. Instead, he was being offered survival. Why, he finally asked. We would not show you such mercy. No, you would not. But we are not you. We remember what it cost us to become what we are. Every weapon we used against you, we invented to use on ourselves first. Every tactic we learned in wars that almost destroyed our own species. We do not want to be conquerors, Chancellor. We wanted to be explorers, artists, farmers. You forced us to remember what we really are, but that does not mean we have to become only that. He leaned forward, his face hard. But understand this clearly. This offer comes once, right now. If you refuse, if you make us fight this battle, there will be no mercy afterward. We will do what we must to end this war. Your homeworld will burn. Your species will be broken. Choose now. Vexrath looked at his advisors. War Master Tokvar shook his head slowly. We cannot win. He is offering us life. That is more than we deserve after what we have done. The Chancellor turned back to Tai Yang. Your terms we accept. Transmitting our unconditional surrender now. The message went out across all Dominion channels. Within minutes, Krillian ships were powering down weapons. Defense platforms went offline. The war, which had raged for 6 weeks, ended in the time it took to speak a few words. Counselor Rin watched from the council chambers, tears streaming down her face. She had feared total destruction. Instead, she witnessed something she had not thought possible. Humanity at the moment of absolute victory chose mercy, but it was not mercy that came from weakness. The human fleet remained in formation, weapons ready. The message was clear: we are choosing this. Do not mistake our choice for inability. Over the following days, the galaxy watched as humanity transformed from conqueror to peacekeeper. Human marines landed on Dominion worlds, but they came to secure weapon stockpiles, not to oppress civilians. Human administrators arrived to oversee disarmament, but they worked with local leaders, not replacing them. Crixval, the young Krillian who had studied human history, found himself appointed to the Disarmament Commission. He worked alongside engineer Sangwoo, cataloging and destroying Dominion weapons. They developed an unexpected friendship. "You really did try to warn us," Crixval said one day as they supervised the decommissioning of a weapons platform. "All those years, every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, you were showing us who you were." "Yes," Sangwoo agreed, "but no one wanted to see. Everyone saw the art and the music and the trade. They thought that was all we were. They forgot that humans can be many things at once, gentle and terrible, creative and destructive. We did not want to be what we became, but we remembered how when we needed to. Will you forget again? Will you go back to being peaceful?" Sangwoo was quiet for a long time. "We will try. But no, we will not forget. That is the curse of being human. We remember everything. Every war, every weapon, every horrible thing we have ever done. We carry it with us. We can choose not to use that knowledge, but we cannot choose to not have it." Back on Earth, Ambassador Jiwoo addressed the reformed Galactic Council. Many species had called for humanity to be expelled or sanctioned for their military actions. Just as many called for humanity to be given a permanent leadership position. The council was split. Jiwoo stood at the podium, older now, more tired, but her voice was still strong. The council debates what to do with humanity. Some fear us. Some want to use us. Both miss the point. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to be your soldiers or your masters. We want what we have always wanted, to be left in peace. She activated a display showing statistics from the war. 6 weeks of combat, 473 human ships destroyed, 12,000 human soldiers dead, 23 colony worlds damaged. And what did we gain? Territory? Resources? No. We gained only the knowledge that we can never fully escape what we are. But here is what you gained, she continued. You learned that peace is not weakness, that choosing not to fight is not the same as being unable to fight, that sometimes the gentle species is gentle by choice, not by nature. Remember this lesson. Remember it well." She looked directly at the council representatives. "Humanity will partially disarm. We will reduce our fleet. We will return to trade and culture. But know this. Every human ship, every human station, every human world will remember what we learned. We can mobilize in 30 days. You had 30 days to reconsider your ultimatum. From now on, anyone who threatens humanity will have 30 days to reconsider their decision. That is fair, is it not? The same timeline you gave us?" The council voted. Humanity would remain a member. No sanctions. No special powers. Just one species among many, but now respected in a way they had not been before. Feared, yes, but also understood. Captain Day 1 retired from active service. He returned to Harmony, where he had fought in the first battle. Governor Minseo gave him land for a farm. He spent his days growing crops and his nights looking at the stars, remembering. Commander Young Mi opened a flight academy on a colony world. She taught civilian pilots, not military ones. But her students learned her lessons well. How to fly with precision, how to think 3 steps ahead, how to survive, just in case. Dr. Borod destroyed her research notes for the most terrible weapons she had designed, but she encrypted backups with a security system that would automatically release them if humanity was ever threatened with extinction again. She hoped they would never be needed. She knew they might be. On the Dominion homeworld, a memorial was built. It listed the names of every Krillian who died in the war. At the top was a quote from Admiral Tae Yang. "They forced us to remember what we are. May the galaxy never forget." Young Krillians visited the memorial and learned about the war, about human history, about the importance of really understanding those you deal with. The memorial became a place of learning, not just mourning. Years passed. Trade between humanity and other species resumed. Human art and music again filled the galleries of alien worlds. Human merchants again sailed the space lanes. To casual observers, it seemed humanity had returned to being what they were before. But everyone knew the truth now. They saw the human ships with their efficient designs and knew those designs could be weaponized in weeks. They saw human orbital stations and knew they could become fortresses. They saw human smiles and knew those smiles came from a species that had climbed to the top of their world's food chain through sheer ruthless determination. Ambassador Jiwoo, in her final speech before retirement, summarized it best. We are humans. We sing and paint and dance. We write poetry and grow gardens and raise children. But our ancestors were hunters who learned to cooperate, warriors who learned to plan, survivors who refused to give up no matter what the universe threw at them.